Hello everybody, my name is Kara, and today I'm here with a spoiler-free review for The Boy in the Black Suit by Jason Reynolds. Before I get into that review, I do want to direct you to the description box where I will put some more links about how to continue the momentum for the Black Lives Matter movement, just because we are starting to see it a little less on social media and a little less in the regular media. It doesn't mean that it's not still happening, it's not still important. And if you're looking for some more specific ways to donate, I know several Black book bloggers have posted ways to support them. One of them is Neeks, who is a booktuber, and she has set up a GoFundMe for her aunt who needs life-saving surgery because she has cancer. So if you're looking for like individual places to donate, look for funds like that. Again, I will put that information in the description box. And so now into the review. As I said, this is going to be spoiler-free. I will be reviewing The Boy in the Black Suit by Jason Reynolds. This is a contemporary book, and we follow our main character Matt, and his mother has just recently died. So Matt is dealing with his own grief, and he's also worried about his father, because his father is really not taking it very well, and he's starting to slide back into alcoholism. And then on top of all of this, Matt also needs a job. So because of some certain circumstances that happen, he ends up actually getting a job at the local funeral home. And what Matt starts to realize is there's something about this job and being part of these funeral services that is very cathartic for him. By getting to see people having the same kind of pain he's experiencing, it makes his a little bit easier to bear. So we see how he kind of uses this to help him cope with his grief. And he also ends up meeting a girl named Lovey, who he really likes spending time with. He has a crush on her, and so we have that element as well, in addition to the more serious topics of grief and everything. And as I have mentioned in several videos now, this was my favorite book I read in May. Also a good reason why I always wait to do my wrap up until after the month is actually over, because this was also the last book I read in May. I'm gonna talk about the characters first. So Matt is a protagonist. I just really enjoyed him. I felt for him immediately. Jason Reynolds is so good at connecting you emotionally to these characters and to what they're going through. And I also think the characterization of Matt's mother was fantastic, because I think it can be really tricky to connect readers emotionally to characters who are not actually on page, because obviously Matt's mother is very important to him, but you also kind of have to get the reader to understand or to get to know her a little bit. And I think Jason Reynolds did an amazing job with that as well. Matt's mother really felt like a completely developed character to me. I felt like we knew her just as well as some of the characters who were actually alive and present in the book. And I feel like that added an extra dimension to how much we hurt for what Matt was going through. I also loved Matt's best friend Chris, and the way that they were always there for each other, and they tease each other and they give each other a hard time, but they're always there for each other when it counts. That was just like a great example of friendship in this book. And I really loved the character of Lovey as well. She has her own things in her past, and I feel like the way those things were handled was very thoughtful, and it didn't reduce her to being like just her circumstances or anything like that. I think the way that her and Matt like really bonded and started to get to know each other was really beautiful and really heartwarming, and it was a great balance of them understanding kind of like the way that the other person was hurting, while also not just being like, oh, two characters end up together because they're both sad or they both have bad things happen. Lovey felt like a fully developed character, even though she wasn't as present in the book as some of the other ones. And I also loved Mr. Ray, who is the director of the funeral home that Matt ends up working at, and he kind of ends up becoming a like father figure in his life because Matt's own father is kind of out of commission right now. And I just loved seeing their bond and seeing Mr. Ray look out for him, but also the way that Matt kind of took care of him too. Their relationship was just really lovely. And then speaking of the relationships, that was another thing connected to the characters that I absolutely loved about this book. I've mentioned how much I enjoyed all of the relationships with these characters, and we have such a great variety of strong relationships that are shown. Like we have friendship, we have romance, we have family relationships and found family relationships. Like all these relationships get importance and get page time, and they were just beautifully developed. And I also feel like the characterization details were really seamlessly worked into the story. This is a little hard to explain, but in certain books I sometimes feel like the details for like the details or the quirks or like certain personality traits of the characters aren't worked in kind of effortlessly. They feel very obvious. Like I almost feel like sometimes I'm reading a book and the author is like, oh yeah, it's been like 10 pages, I should throw another personality trait, and it's like they spin the wheel. Matt's mother only liked Cherry Jolly Ranchers or something like that. Just as an example. And with this book, I never felt like that. I feel like all of the details about these characters were communicated in a very natural feeling way. Like I never felt like I could see Jason Reynolds being like, oh yeah, I guess I should throw them another personality trait. I don't know if any of that made sense. But basically the characterizations in this book were absolutely phenomenal. I also loved the themes of this book, and just like the general story. I think this is a perfectly balanced contemporary between these really serious themes like grief and healing, and also the more upbeat moments. Like we have moments of humor, we have heartwarming relationships between characters. Like, I'm just realizing more and more that that's something I love in contemporaries, where we have those serious themes but that are balanced with moments of hope, and like heartwarming moments and things like that. So I think that was beautifully done in this book. And I also feel like the topic of grief itself was explored really, really thoughtfully in this book. Like the way it was something that would kind of ebb and flow. It was always present, but also inconsistent. I just think that's very, very true to life and how I think most, if not all people experience grief. And like I mentioned earlier, just the way that we were so deeply connected to what Matt was feeling, like to his grief and to his sense of loss and missing his mother. I felt it was very, very effective. I was definitely very emotionally invested in this book. Some tears were definitely shed, which is not surprising because I'm definitely a book crier. But I just think everything about the way that grief was handled was very, very thoughtful, very well done. Like the way Matt would be doing something else and he wouldn't be actively thinking about his grief or about losing his mother. And then he would see something maybe that was totally innocuous, but it would remind him of his mother, and then suddenly he's right there again. Suddenly he's just overwhelmed with grief. I think that was very thoughtful, very realistic, and like I said, also very well balanced with the idea of healing, and about how you never like get over or like forget the people that you lost, but there's still hope in learning to deal with it and to remember the good things rather than the loss. And I just think those things were so beautifully done in this book. And I also want to give a quick mention to Jason Reynolds' writing. I feel like all of the aspects of writing are things that he does exceptionally well. Like he's great at dialogue, he's great at humor, he's great at heartwarming moments and really connecting you emotionally to these characters and to their relationships. I just feel like everything about the way this was written, everything about the way this book was constructed and put together and developed was absolutely fantastic. If you can't tell, I gave The Boy in the Black Suit 5 stars. Like I said, it was my favorite book I read in May, and I can't recommend it enough. I also have read Long Way Down by this author, which I absolutely loved, but I feel like this book gets much less attention than that one, and I think that's a shame because I think they are both fantastic. And I'm definitely going to be reading more from Jason Reynolds in the future. So that's it for my probably pretty quick spoiler-free review of The Boy in the Black Suit. Please let me know if you guys have read this book, what you thought of it, or if you're going to pick it up. And please remember to check the description box for all of the links that I mentioned. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you soon with another video, and I hope you love the next book you read. Bye!